Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we're done the regular season. We made it through our first regular season with a full-time hockey podcast, and what a season to start it off.
Yeah, yeah. I guess this is our first full coverage of regular season. We were just a few minutes before we started recording here. I said we kind of had breaking news, so the regular season is officially just wrapped up now, and all signs were pointing to it being Edmonton and Vegas in round one until the LA Kings scored with a minute and 2 seconds left against Chicago to tie the game. And it ended up going to overtime, which ended up tying Vegas and LA in points. And obviously LA had the tiebreaker, so they now jumped Vegas. And then LA scored 6 seconds into overtime to win that. So now, we've already discussed it. We're going to do an episode tomorrow that'll come out that will, kind of be our whole playoff talk and predictions, whatnot. And now we know that LA jumped Vegas, so it'll now be Edmonton and LA in round one, and it'll now be Dallas and Vegas. So
Dallas versus Vegas.
Pretty
I
nuts
love
matchup
that.
for round one. That's a nuts matchup there.
Yeah, that's honestly, I've not been very hyped about a lot of the Western Conference matchups that we're getting. It's Oilers versus Kings again. We got to imagine Oilers are going to win, although the Kings do look better than last year's. I predict the Canucks are going to do pretty good against the Preds, but Jets, Avs, and the Stars, Golden Knights, those are both those could be money. Those could be a really good series.
Yeah, well, and it's funny that Dallas and Vegas matched up because I was actually talking to one of my buddies the other day who's a Flames fan, and because it all happened on one night, and I texted him, I said, "Man, this is weird to watch this and see this," because it was in the Dallas game. I don't know who they were playing, but it was Chris Tanev shoots it from the blue line, and Joe Pavelski does a tip right in the slot, goes in goal. And then Vegas was playing, and Hurdle grabbed it and put it back to the blue line to Hanifin, and he blasted it and it went in. And so I texted him, I said, "Man, this is so weird to see these guys playing together now, both on all of them on separate different teams now."
Yeah.
From when they kind of had played against each other or not on these teams, and now they're all together elsewhere and looking really good because both Vegas and Dallas are, Dallas is obviously the favorite and the kind of in the West right now, being the number one seed. Vegas, you kind of got to put respect on them, being the defending champs. And I know they're the second wildcard team, but again, they won the cup last year, and damn well all those guys that have been out injured for the later half of the season are going to be, back and fully healthy in the lineup for game one. So they're going to be much better than what we're getting right now. So that's going to be a.
You can look at the standings all you want,
really
but
matchup.
if you look at their roster, that is still an insanely solid roster. Did they lose any massive pieces after their cup run?
The only real guy they lost was Riley Smith, and
who's a good player, but not that.
Well, and they traded him to keep Barbashev, and so I like Riley Smith, and obviously he meant a lot to that team, whatnot. But where Barbashev's age, first of all, and where he's at compared to Smith now is definitely Barbashev, especially that center position. So
yeah, and that's before we talk about the additions of Hanifin and Hurdle.
And Mantha.
They just won. They just won the cup last year, and they're better. They're straight up better. It's hard to argue against that.
Well, it's basically the the same team minus Riley Smith, but then you had a top 4 defenseman in Hannafin. You had like a really solid third liner in Mantha, and then a second line center in Hurdle. Like that's
That's solid.
that's like that's
Like, if anyone can beat them, I think Dallas has a really good shot at it. But
Dallas. Dallas is the team I think has the best chance to beat Vegas because Dallas is so deep.
I think Dallas plays a really good style to beat them as well. I think teams like the
Dallas's
Oilers don't
fifth
quite.
line is better than most teams in the playoffs' third line, fourth line. Like that team's depth is it's probably the deepest forward core, I would say, at least, that we've maybe ever seen almost.
It's certainly the one of the deepest that we've seen in a long time. Like the only one I can, obviously slightly biased, even remember is the 2020-2021 Lightning, where we had guys like Tyler Johnson on the fourth line.
That's kind of the one I was also thinking, but it's the fact of like three forwards that aren't going to be playing for Dallas could easily be playing like third or fourth line on their the other team.
Well, so we in the 2020 playoffs, Carter Verhaeghe was a healthy scratch.
Yeah, checkmate. Yeah, checkmate. Actually, you are right. Yeah,
and that's the part where you can tell me that Volkov was in the lineup at certain points. So
no,
there's parts.
Yeah, but we will
very deep team
cover all the playoffs. Tomorrow we will be kind of we'll go through the standings and at least say what the matchups are and whatnot. But we've got regular season talk still here.
Yeah, there's plenty of time in the next 24 hours for us to talk about playoffs. But for now, we've got a good little bit of news. We will be talking about the Arizona Coyotes at decent length. That'll probably be a good, solid part of this episode later on. But we're going to go through some other news first. The Boston Bruins broadcaster Jack Edwards announced that he is retiring at the end of this season. Thank God, because I don't know what's going on with him. I legitimately have no idea. I don't know if it's public knowledge or not. But
I'm just tired of him. Honestly,
I did not like him before because I don't like the Bruins, to be honest. And he's a homer for them. But in the past, I didn't like him for a long time because of that. I didn't think he was bad at his job. I just didn't really like him. The last 1 or 2 years, he's really he's clearly his
gotten bad,
slurring his speech, stuff like that. And I'm inclined to guess that something like that is probably why he's retiring. I don't know for sure.
I almost
and I wish nothing for the best for him. Like I don't wish anything bad on him. I hope he wasn't forced to retire before he wanted to, but
I almost kind of wonder if I'm not saying it is, but I'm kind of leaning to maybe that's kind of where it's at, what it is. It's so I just, again, there was times there was a game I was watching. I was I can't remember who the Bruins were playing, but it was he got just so caught up on rambling about something that then a big play started happening. And then he couldn't even keep up. He was just starting to throw out names and was behind. He can't, keep up and do it like what all these, younger announcers are coming in are doing. And so I almost kind of wonder if it's just now, it's kind of the Bruins are hey, we gotta, we gotta move on, man. And so it's we want to,
we'd like to move on. Please retire so we don't have to fire you or something like that. Because I can't imagine they want to. I'm pretty sure he's solidly a part of that.
He's always going to be remembered. Not only with Bruins fans, but just any NHL fans, any hockey fans are going to remember his name. What did you know? What I mean, it sounds weird. But I'm happy he's retiring. But at the same time, it's also
I imagine he'll have
might end up missing it actually.
Yeah, and it might
Because
be that.
it was so chaotic. It was chaos you didn't like, but looking back, it's like it's entertainment. It's fun.
Yeah.
So
So obviously the regular season ended and the Leafs will be playing the Bruins. So of course today everywhere there's been circulating the video of the infamous 4-1 collapse back in, was it 2011, I believe. Um and he was back then he was still the announcer and he was announcing that, and I was thinking like he doesn't even sound like the same guy. Like I can kind of
yeah.
tell it's him, but like completely different than what I've heard him broadcast over the past few years. So
Hmm.
yeah, I hopefully it's nothing too serious. Hopefully he's just getting ready to hang him up. He's been doing it for over 20 years at least.
Yeah.
um but yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people are happy to hear this, but it's it's nice that he was able to retire on his own.
Yeah. Also, just worth noting that Columbus Blue Jackets announcer Jeff Rimmer also announced his last game the other day for the Blue Jackets, as he's also retiring. So there's two roles to be filled with the Bruins and Blue Jackets for new announcers. So it'll be interesting to see who they get in. I'm curious to see what Boston's is like, because
Boston, I've seen a
you're
lot
so
of
used
Boston
to what you've
fans
been getting
saying,
from Boston. So
yeah, that's true. It's been a staple of their broadcast for at least 2 decades.
yeah.
I've heard a lot of Boston fans saying that there's this, I can't remember who it is, but there's one name being thrown around a lot. I'm assuming he's the announcer for their minor team or Boston College or something, because there's this one name that a lot of people are like, this guy's already announcing for a Boston team and he's great. So
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just people online or if there's any traction behind why he would be next, but it
Hmm.
sounds like there's good up and coming announcers in the area that they can pick
Okay.
from.
Speaking of Boston College, just a quick congrats to uh, Denver University. They ended up, or University of Denver, they ended up winning the NCAA championship in the end, defeating Boston College in the final game by a score of 2-0. So congrats to them. And I think that also they now hold the record for most championship wins with 10 now. So
Damn, 10.
good for
Is
them
that
as well on
is that
that.
like just championships in hockey, or is that like all sports
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
thing?
yeah. Just
Okay.
in the hockey. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they won not too long ago. I'm pretty sure they recently have also won.
The Buffalo Sabres fired head coach Don Granado. This was, you could definitely see it coming. The writing was on the
Yeah,
wall. They really took a bit of a step back this year, or at the very least, they didn't take that step forward that everyone wanted them to. Um,
yeah,
there's good coaches out there. Hell, if Bruce Boudreau is looking to get back in the league, you know,
yeah.
I there's definitely a lot of positive directions they can go into. Hopefully, they take one of the good ones and not one of the bad ones. But
Yeah,
uh, yeah, I know
because
Tage
Buffalo's got
Thompson.
to make the playoffs next year. Like they have to
Yeah,
have their eyes set on, we're making the playoffs or the season is a total failure. Like they're at that point now where they got to start getting in.
which
And
is
so this is
wild
obviously
because there's a couple
the right
teams in
step.
that spot. Like the Red Wings are
Yeah,
right there beside them. It's make or break time. Let's
Senators
get in.
should be.
The Sens,
They
I feel
should
like
be.
I think a lot of people aren't going to think of them as a team like that, but I imagine they're the not the fan base,
No,
the
because
franchise and the org is going to want that.
they're gonna go do something just so, like, drastic and absurd in the offseason to make their team look that much better, and then everybody's gonna be in on them and be like, "Alright, now this is the year they finally get. Look at these moves they made," and then
Summer of Pierre.
the same shit will happen again.
Yeah,
'Cause
we'll have
sounds
to
like there
see.
could be some crazy stuff happening with Ottawa this offseason.
Yeah. Um Connor McDavid and Nikita Kucherov have both reached 100 assists in a single season. Previously, this had only been done by three guys: uh, Bobby Orr once, Mario Lemieux once, and Wayne Gretzky 11 consecutive times.
Yeah.
Every stat is a Gretzky stat in disguise.
It really is. But like,
But
yeah, no, like without a doubt, congrats to Connor McDavid and Kucherov for achieving that. Like that it's just absurd. I know McDavid. It was a struggle for McDavid to get it. Obviously that was in the Oilers beat down over San Jose, and I think it was Edmonton's like 8th or 9th goal. He finally
I was
got an
gonna say, I
assist.
think it was at least the 7th goal because I'm pretty sure I checked at one point it was 6-0 and he only had a goal.
Yeah, no,
Would have
yeah.
bummed
It
he
was
had a
the
goal.
yeah, it was the 8th or 9th goal he finally uh got. I think it was the 8th because I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, it was a pass over to Hyman, like a little tapping into an empty net, like
classic.
their bread and butter there. So
Funny enough, both of them, Kucherov and McDavid, in their game where they got to 100 assists, they both scored a goal before getting that assist. Uh,
oh yeah, I
which,
guess yeah, Kucherov did last night too.
yeah, and
Who didn't score in the game yesterday between Tampa and Toronto?
oh well, clearly you don't want to hear me say Ryan Reeves' name because he did score. But Austin
No.
Matthews was
Oh,
held
Matthews,
off the
yeah.
goal column, ending
Man,
his
what a
season
bad time to go into a slump though. He was
69
so
goals.
hot. He was so hot for down the stretch, and then
Yep.
as soon as he got right there, he just went into a slump. And he was trying though. That's the thing. Like,
Not only did he have a ton of shots, he had like I think 13 shots against Tampa in game 82 there, but there was a lot of quality chances. Like that one where he battled the puck off some guy on a zone entry and ended up in the slot all on his own. It's one-on-one versus the goalie. Matt Tompkins, by the way, not Vasilevsky. We didn't even have him in, and rings it off the post. Oh,
yeah.
you could tell after that it was like, oh no, that's gonna keep him up at night now if he doesn't
So
get it.
it was after it was in their third last game of the season against Detroit where he got his 69th goal. And so that was like halfway through the game, like millisecond period. So he didn't score the rest of that game. And then he didn't score in the final two games. I remember I read it earlier. It was like either 22 or 21 shots in the span from his 69th to the end of the season.
I mean, yeah, he had like
In
10
like two
against
and a half
Florida,
games.
13
Like
against
that's
Tampa. Dude was
like
shooting like crazy. He just wanted one more.
yeah. And there's even times during the I laughed really hard at one. It was I think I don't know. I think it was in the third period or something, but it was like Toronto, I think they had a power play. I came up to Matthews in the front. He kind of did a spin to open up, and both um Tavares and Marner both just back off, sticks up. Like sticks aren't even on the ice or anything. They're both just backing up to just tell Matthews like you're shooting and it's either going in or we're gonna go scramble to try and get the rebound. But they weren't even ready for a rebound or a pass. Like they were giving him the green light to just keep shooting. And unfortunately, I
Yeah.
just one couldn't go for him.
Honestly, that Leafs Lightning game was so fun to watch just because it was straight up pond hockey.
Yeah,
Neither team had anything to fight for except for those milestones. Every time Tampa got a power play, it went from Kucherov, it got passed to two people, and if they didn't have a chance to score, they go and reset the assist counter and passed it back to Cooch. On the power play for the Leafs, it was just everyone was flying all over the place trying to make room for Matthews. Like
yeah,
either they were passing to him and he was shooting, or they were trying to shoot it off of his ass and in. Like
yeah,
the entire game was about those two trying to hit their milestones.
yeah. But hey, we were talking about before, and you said one of them's going to hit it and one of them's not, and it ended up being Kucherov to hit the 100 assist mark. Other quick news: Marc-Andre Fleury signed a 1-year, $2.5 million extension with the Minnesota Wild. Obviously, deciding to go against retiring. for this season, so he will be back with Minnesota. And it'll be interesting to see what they do with their goalies, because you've got, Fleury coming back. You've still got Gustafsson.
Gustafson.
You've now got Wallstead, who's coming up and looking to be a full timer. Maybe again, you've maybe got something of like what Calgary's had this year, where Wolf was ready to come up and play, and just you have two other goalies that you can't really. It makes no sense to have them in the minors or anything. So maybe Wallstead has to spend another year in the AHL or something.
Yeah, I wonder if they maybe try and move him at the deadline if he wants to, if they're not in the playoffs and he, wants to make another run at a cup, or if he's just content hanging out, padding a couple more wins onto the all-time list and see how high he can get. It's hard to know so late in his career at this point what he's looking to do, because Minnesota is
Mhm.
such an interesting team, and it's nice to know that he's played there and he's like, I do like it here, I want to stay. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you gotta. I mean, it seems pretty on purpose that it's a 1 year deal, because they know
Yeah.
Wallstedt, you can't keep him down for much longer.
Yeah. It's probably this is probably it for Fleury. I think the fact that he was already kind of ready to retire, well, not and decide to come back. I think this is like, maybe he finishes out the year with the Wild and that's it, or maybe they move him at the deadline, and for a team that maybe needs a backup goalie, and he can go on a run with another team maybe.
Um, we don't have it on here, but I guess now that all the games have ended, we can also tag on that Nikita Kucherov has officially won his second Art Ross trophy. He ended the season with 144 points. So congratulations to Kucherov on another insane season. There's a lot
Yeah.
of really crazy seasons around the league, especially with scoring going up. But
Yeah.
those top three guys especially just blew it wide open.
Yeah, and we also know that Austin Matthews has won his third Rocky Richard Trophy, obviously
Yeah.
finishing the season with 69 goals. And we also know that Winnipeg Jets goaltender Connor Hellebuck has won the William M. Jennings Trophy, so that's for the least amount of goals allowed. One of those kind of weird, I feel like over the last couple of years it hasn't been like this, but it's been usually you've got two goalies winning it, obviously from the same team. I think the minimum amount of games required is 25 for it. So I believe Brossoit came up just short of reaching the mark. So it'll just be Connor Hellebuck winning it this year.
Which is too bad, because Brossoit absolutely
It's so
deserves to
good for
be on
them.
there. Every
Yeah.
time I would look at the stats and be like, man, Hellebuck again holding them to 0 goals or 1 goal. And I check and, oh, Brossoit was in net again. Like, they must just have an insane
Yeah.
defensive system over there in Winnipeg, because both
Yeah.
their goalies put up great numbers this year.
I just want to confirm that this is the final number, because this did set an NHL record. I just want to double check. So Nashville Predators defenseman Jeremy Lozon has set the NHL record for most hits in a single season, with his final number being 386 hits.
Good
I believe
God,
I
man.
believe he had 3 games where he had double digits in hits, and then I think 3 other games as well where he was at 9. So there was some
Wow.
nights where he was just throwing the body
Wrecking ball.
left left and right.
That's
And
pretty wild.
I actually just found this out tonight because I was at the game. Mackenzie Weegar became the first defenseman in NHL history to have 200 shot blocks in a single season, as well as 20 goals. Just
Oh, okay,
a
okay.
fun fact, friends. I thought that was actually pretty cool. That
Underrated season for Mackenzie Weegar. I really think he's one of the most
yeah,
underrated players in the league.
yeah. I mean, he doesn't get the respect he deserves. I mean, I think he will start to now that he. I mean, You put up a 20-goal season like that, and you're gonna get at least some respect, I
Yeah.
think. So
I don't know if he's
hopefully it'll go
quite
for a
in
bit.
the top 10 defensemen in the league,
No,
but I
no,
I think I'd
no,
probably put him in top 15.
no. You can't do top 10. You can't even talk about top 10.
I think he's top 15 though.
Top 15, yeah, but you're still, I think, towards the 15. Like,
Yeah, it's probably in that
there's
13,
a
14,
lot of
15.
good defensemen.
What?
Like,
Who are you gonna have?
that's not to say
Who are you gonna have
Uyghur's bad,
above
but
him? Miro Heiskanen? Come on.
yeah. Yeah, I would.
Now, now,
Easily would.
now I'm just trying to rile people up.
You're gonna round me. You could have picked anyone else, but
No,
you
and
know I'm such a supporter of Heiskanen.
everyone is. Everyone thinks he gets underrated.
I don't know. I don't think he gets underrated. I think he's like properly rated. Like I think the consensus is that he's really good. And I
Yeah.
believe he's really good. No, I
I
would
think a
not
lot of people put him in the
put
top
him in
5.
underrated.
But that's a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
That's
I'm gonna look
that's
into that
off
actually.
season. That's
I'm gonna
off
look into
season
that.
talk.
Yeah, what I would do for top 5 because I'm actually trying to just
Yeah. I
he
got to
might
imagine in the off season we'll do some like top position lists, top player
or
lists.
yeah. Well, we're gonna
We'll be
have
doing
to
all
fill
kinds of
time.
it.
We're gonna have to fill time somehow.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to do something like that.
Jeff Carter officially announced his retirement from the NHL earlier this week. I believe he announced it before his last game. I think he announced it after the Penguins were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. He played for the Flyers, Blue Jackets, Kings, and Penguins throughout his NHL tenure. He scored 442 goals and 851 points in his 1,321 games, and he won 2 Stanley Cups with the LA Kings.
He was a big part of the Kings winning those 2 cups. He was a
Yeah,
very big part of that team then. So yeah, I mean, that's a great career for Jeff Carter. Obviously, he was probably waiting to, maybe go on one last run here with Pittsburgh, and yeah, once they were eliminated, he kind of let everybody know that like, yeah, I'm now done now. Also, I don't believe we covered it last week, but Wayne Simmons signed a 1-day contract with the Flyers and retired as a member of the Philadelphia Flyers. So,
yeah,
two great players who had, they were some of the best in their time at what they were out there to do. So, wish them nothing but the best in their retirement. And 2 guys that I think probably we'll see back in the NHL in some way. I don't
yeah,
think these are like I think with these 2 guys, they might be guys that we see in some kind of roles down the line. I don't expect them to just fade out of the league, and
yeah. I think Wayne
we
Simmons
don't
finds
see
a
them
job somewhere in the
with the Flyers.
In the Flyers
Yeah,
organization. If not, I could definitely see him going back to the Leafs. Um, and I think Jeff Carter absolutely is going to go back to LA and he's going to find something to do there. Unless Crosby really talked him into something over in Pittsburgh. I imagine he's going back to LA because he played there for a long time, had a lot of success there.
yeah, yeah. In some way, we'll see these guys pop up on games every now and then in some role.
And the last thing that we'll talk about here before getting into the Coyotes situation, the Montreal Canadiens extended Marty St. Louis, their head coach, for another 2 years. I saw a lot of people questioning this because, they weren't great this year, but did anyone expect them to be? Like, I think he's
Yeah,
really brought the team on. Like, obviously, it's St. Louis. As a Lightning fan, I'm a little biased, but I think he did a great job with them. It feels like
yeah.
Caulfield's never looked better since he's taken over, and it
The
feels like he's
development of
developing these guys.
Slafkovsky has been
Yeah,
awesome.
especially. Yeah, watching his pace over the first 20 games and then the next 20 and then the back half of the season, he improved
Yeah,
so much.
yeah. No, I think St. Louis has been a terrific fit for them. So I'm excited to see what he can continue to do with them. As they're obviously kind of starting to put the pieces in place that are the future and the guys that are expected to lead them to the playoffs. So it's now kind of the time to start trying to climb the mountain for Montreal, I think here.
Absolutely. They have so many good pieces. Like it's gonna take a couple more years of seasoning, but they're gonna be a nasty squad to face in some
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, they got a lot of good pieces in place there. So it's time to start moving up the mountain for them. I don't expect them to get any to be any worse than what they were this year. It's time for them to start
Yeah, they're gonna start getting more
improving
and more points.
little bit by little bit now.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not at that Sabres Red Wings level yet. They're not going to be expecting or disappointed if they miss the playoffs. But I think maybe the year after next year they
Yeah,
could be at that point, depending
they,
on
they
how the
should
guys
be they
progress.
should be aiming for a wild card spot at least.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, I suppose it's time to talk about the Arizona Coyotes. Um. So for those of you who have been living under an absolute rock and
A
have not
boulder.
heard, the Arizona Coyotes are officially, I guess, technically not officially sold yet, but earlier today, the league got all the GMs together and unanimously voted with um, sorry, not the GMs, the owners, um, the ambassadors for the league, and they unanimously voted to go forward with the sale of the Arizona Coyotes to at least allow it. Um, to Ryan Smith, who is the owner of the Utah Jazz NBA team. He is planning to buy the Arizona Coyotes franchise for $1.2 billion. And then the team will be moving to Utah and be based out of Salt Lake City. They're going to be referred to as a Utah team. Like they'll be playing in Salt Lake City, but
Yeah,
all the
it's like Colorado. It's like the
e-
Avs.
exactly, yeah. It's about the naming is the state.
It is worth noting that it sounds like the plan right now is for them to remain as like a generic name for their first season.
Yes.
So being like the Utah hockey team or something.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
for the first season, and then the second season will be when they come out with actual jersey, like proper jerseys and the team name and whatnot. So I mean they're gonna have all these fans that are just buying their base jersey just to say to be part of the fan base and whatnot. And then the following year they're gonna have to spend more money to buy the new jersey and whatnot when the team comes out with an actual logo
Yeah.
and name,
Well,
which I don't like. Like I
they said
mean,
that they might. Like they said that they're willing to start this season without a name if they don't have one yet, but I think they're hoping that they will have one. They just said that,
I
if
think
they
I
don't
think they
have
should.
something they like,
I think
that
they should because like the case, like they already knew for a month this was gonna happen, and they've been like Ryan Smith and they've been pushing for a while to get a team or not. You'd think that they would at least have some ideas and some that they can come to
yeah.
an agreement with and start it. Like it shouldn't be,
I
you
get
know.
that you want to have a cool name, it rolls off the tongue, stuff like that, but at the same time, like what do we have around the league? San Jose Sharks, Tampa Bay Lightning, Calgary Flames, New York Rangers. Like they're unique, they're fun, but you know, you don't have to rack your brain to come up with this stuff, right? Like it's none
Dude,
of them
do
none
the
of them
most
are like
popular fan vote.
yeah, like none of them are so in like nobody's looking at any of the 32 teams and going, "How did they come up with that?" It's so cool. Like it's
You could be
it's the
everybody
place's
wants
name and then a thing. That's it,
the Utah Yeti.
which I love.
Like not even Yetis. Like it's one of those unique ones. It's like the Lightning or the Wild or the Kraken. They're like it's not a plural word. It's just one.
Yeah, yeah, the Avalanche.
Yeah. Oh, the Avalanche is another. Yeah. You could just be the Utah Yeti, and you could make such a cool logo from that. And that's like what everybody keeps saying they think is the best name.
They would immediately have a
Why not
top
just do
3
that?
mascot in the league right there.
Yeah.
It'd just be a white version of Gritty with a scary mask.
They literally could, and like it would work. I just think it's such a bad look for them if all this pushing and talking and finally get the team and you can't put out the best product you can to start it off hot and you want to drag it out for a year. I think is a really bad way to um
Yeah.
start that off,
Yeah, it sounds like
in
they're
my opinion.
open to starting with a name if it comes to them, but it sounds like they're really like we want to make it perfect, and if we don't have it, we'll wait if we have to. The
Yeah.
trademarks have already been filed for Utah HC, Utah Hockey Club, which is what Utah HC stands for, Utah Blizzard,
Blizzard
Utah
would be cool.
Fury, and Utah Venom.
I don't
Uh,
like Fury or Venom. Blizzard actually could be pretty cool.
I kind of like that one the most, but they're also relatively close to Colorado, who are already the Avalanche. It
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
it's not that similar, but it feels similar
I do see
enough.
yeah, I see what you mean though.
There's been a lot of pictures circulating. I believe the game is The Last of Us, the first one. There is it's this post-apocalyptic game, and there's a random poster in one of these apocalyptic cities that just is a poster of a fictional hockey team called the Utah Snakes, and so people were joking about the name Utah Venom that got trademarked,
No Venom.
saying that they took it from this game that came out like 10 years ago. So that was a bit of a Simpsons moment there. They kind of called their shot.
Yeah, I don't really like Utah Venom.
It's it's not bad, but
Out of
you
those,
can tell it can get better than that.
yeah, out of those trademark ones, like I like Blizzard the most, but like you said with the Avalanche, yeah, I mean, I think going Yeti is a great route, and that's what people want, and like that would be an instant hit. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, where are we in here?
but what do we got with this? You kind of had some
Um,
stuff with
yeah.
this.
So the one major thing to put out there is that the NHL, Ryan Smith and Alex Morello, the owner of the Coyotes for the last few years, they have known that this was going to happen for over a month. That news came out earlier today. Like we finally figured that out either today or yesterday, but they had this meeting and knew this was going to happen for at least a month, which is a real slap in the face to the Coyotes fans who literally, as of recording on the 18th of April, we are not even a week removed from their big press release of, don't worry, guys, we're staying in Arizona. We're gonna win the land auction, and we're not going anywhere. They already had this in place. It was not confirmed, but they 99% knew that they were probably selling to Ryan
Yeah,
Smith,
yeah,
which for seemingly no reason they gave them false hope right at the end. As a timeline for the last year, basically all they've said is the looks like it's going good, looks like it's going good, looks like it's going good, looks like it's going great. We sold the team.
I wonder if that was like their last Hail Mary attempt to save the team. I wonder if they put that out there hoping that maybe it would change the minds of people and then maybe they could get some support to actually stay there and see it through.
Yeah,
I got to imagine I got to imagine that's what it would be.
yeah.
But
I'm not even sure, but yeah.
one thing we do know with it is that so the team is officially moving to Utah. Like the
Yeah,
Coyotes aren't getting the team back despite what a bright future they've kind of been building over the last couple years.
yeah.
But the Coyotes are eligible for an expansion team again, um, if they can get their new arena built in the next 5 years.
So, as far as I understand it, it looks like there's a couple bullet points, basically a little couple checkpoints throughout those 5 years that Morello and the Coyotes organization need to meet um, before they can do that and exercise their right to be an expansion team. Because what's happening is the Coyotes franchise the entire franchise is moving to Utah, and it will
Uh,
be Smith's. But the rights to it, to the likeness basically of the Coyotes, is staying with Morello. And in 5 years, if he hits all these bullet points, including winning the land auction, getting an arena built in time, then he can exercise his right to re-buy into the NHL as an expansion team that will be the Arizona Coyotes again.
Yeah. So two things with that. So the first one is Morello and his group. They keep the AHL team actually.
Yes,
So the
they are
Tucson
in full ownership
Roadrunners,
of the
they
Roadrunners.
in Arizona, it sounds like they're actually gonna be playing out of Mullet. Next year is kind of the plan. So whether or not they come to an agreement with Ryan Smith and whatever the Utah team is, they can, you know, stays the AHL team for them, or maybe they find a different team and pair up with them. The second thing is, so since there is the potential for the Arizona Coyotes to come back into the league as a new expansion team, all official records, that being from the old Winnipeg Jets team now to the Arizona Coyotes, stay with the Arizona Coyotes. So basically this Utah team is now, even though they're relocating, they're being kind of treated in the records as an expansion team. So
Yes.
there will be no previous records or
Which
anything.
is
It'll now be
which is
everything
how it
from
should be.
this point
Like
forward. I
it's
agree.
weird. It's weird because other teams have that relocated history. It's too bad
Mhm.
we can't go back and change it to all be the way they're doing it now, but it's good that they
Yeah.
are doing it now because it makes sense. The history should be with the city, not with the franchise. You know,
Yeah.
It sucks that Solani doesn't have all the records for rookie goal scoring in Winnipeg. You know, it's technically with, well, I guess Arizona. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
weird
it's
like
it's
that.
with it's with that franchise. So yeah, so Utah will be treated as kind of in terms of the records and history as a
Upcoming year will
expansion
be
team.
their year one. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I
Um.
mean, like it sucks. Like obviously, I was a big
Yeah.
supporter of the Coyotes, but obviously, the position they were in, it was just like
It
I don't
it
love it,
has
but like it needed to happen.
yeah. It has nothing to do with this, quite frankly, insane at this point narrative that hockey doesn't belong in Arizona. It 100% does. It has nothing to do with the fan base. If anything, it shows how insanely supportive the fan base is of hockey there, that they still have fans after the product they've been given the last 20 years. Not to
Yeah.
mention all the relocating news and the arenas, and they've been playing in Mullet Arena, which is sub NHL. Um, but yeah, it sounds like Morello's option to, in 5 years, be able to buy back in as an expansion Coyotes team was basically the NHL was handcuffed into almost, because at the end of the day, it's his team. He does not have to sell it if he doesn't want to. Even though he is
Mhm.
part of the league, he owns it and he is entitled to not selling it if he doesn't want to. So basically, they had to kind of do that to get him to sell. It
Yeah.
sounds like they want the Coyotes back as soon as possible. It sounds like they don't want him to be the owner when that happens. And they're going to,
Mhm.
I don't know if they're going to try and entice him into selling those rights, if that's how it even works. But um, it's good to hear that the NHL thinks that as well, because it seems like that is the overwhelming thought from a lot of people, including one Paul Bissonnette, Mr. Biz Nasty himself. I don't know if you've seen the clip yet, but I would highly recommend you seek it out. Um, he was on TNT. I believe it was on the TNT panel after the last Coyotes game against the Oilers just the other day. He was just talking about how much the team meant to him. He was getting choked up. It was just like the final game. It was kind of a tough watch to do with a dry eye. But he was talking about all the great times, and uh, for a bit of context, Biz Nasty played for the Coyotes for a good couple years, 4 or 5 years, I believe, and he has so consistently over the past several years, always goes to bat for this ownership group. When anyone says bad things, he's always defending them. They gave him a chance in the NHL. They treated him good. They got him a job in media, and now he's got all this stuff he's doing. Um, Even he on TNT on national television, he straight up said, "I hope that hockey comes back to Arizona, and I hope it's not the same ownership group." He straight up said, "I want them to come back with new management. It'll be
Yeah.
run better that way." And I thought it was really telling that a guy that it is so easy to find so many paper trails of him defending this group. There was one line that he said in there where he said that he was not a fan of the way they treated people he cared about. And you could see in his eyes that he was very upset saying that. I don't know who, I don't know what, uh, but he is very clearly not happy right now with
Mhm.
how everything's been handled.
Well, I mean, yeah, like obviously, like you said, he made it very clear how much that the team meant to him and everything, and now that it's kind of over for him, at least for the time being, and he's kind of you know dunking on him now. Like, yeah, it shows that maybe that's kind of the route that they would need to take if the Coyotes want to come back, is under a new ownership group and one that is more maybe fitting of running one.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention just straight up the sheer number of bridges burned with Alex Morello in the state of Arizona in multiple big cities. Like so many governments have government agencies, like mayors have just been straight up like, we don't want you near us. Like
Mhm.
they should want a franchise there. And if they're willing to be that in the standing their ground about it, I got to imagine they were doing some pretty crappy stuff. Um,
Yeah.
there's been a decent amount to come out about how Morello had and his people were running the Coyotes organization. Um, Notably, recently, a lot of people have been talking about how the team has, and still, I'm pretty sure, currently has not paid quite a few hotel bills. They've got a lot of outstanding debt there. Last offseason, they were paying their players late. Every, I want to say it's July 1st on free agency day. Players get paid for their signing bonuses and stuff. And I believe those were all late for their team last year. Of course, the entire saga of trying to get an arena built in multiple different areas. And then another bit of a scandalous thing that came out earlier today is that he tried to throw out Shane Doan's retirement banner. Dude,
Yeah.
that there's no business behind that. He's just being a dick.
It also came out today that Morello and the Coyotes were offered a 20-year deal with Gila River Arena. He rejected that and they kicked him out. And he just said, I didn't think they were going to kick me out for saying no.
Good God.
So they were offered a home for 20 years and he said no. He shit all over it.
Dude, 20 years is how long the Coyotes have been looking for a freaking home.
Like
Like
he
like 20
was
years predates how long he's been around, but the org as a whole has been looking for a
yeah.
home for a long time and he could have locked it up.
Yeah, he just shit the bed so hard
Yeah.
with this whole thing.
He's just a
And
really not a good dude and a even worse businessman. Um
yeah.
for
One
for
thing
anyone to get a little closure on that last bit I was talking about, they did actually throw out Shane Doan's retirement banner. Luckily, it was retrieved by a fan who reached out to I don't have his name here, but they reached out to a popular Arizona Coyotes YouTuber who grabbed it from them, who literally fan found it in the dumpster, got it to this YouTuber who earlier today returned it to Shane Doan himself.
yeah,
So
I did see that
he
video,
did get
yeah.
his retirement banner, and dude, Shane Doan was so happy when he saw it. Apparently, Mullet Arena said preemptively, if you want to hang Shane Doan's banner in Mullet Arena, you can do it. And not only did he say no, he just straight up tried to throw it out.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Like, what
brutal.
reason could you have for this, man? It's
Yeah,
it's
that's actually brutal.
dude, it's like this is like Austin Powers, like Doctor Evil level of like being a dick just to be a dick.
I don't get that reference, but I assume, yeah, he's a pretty big tool.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's his name's Doctor Evil. It's literally just over the top movie villain shit. Like,
Yeah.
and
One thing we do know,
it's tough.
though, with the Utah team is so in their current arena as of right now, I think once it's all, the boards and the ice and everything is in, I think the total seating is like somewhere between 12,500 to 13,000. As of I think it's like about an hour ago, there was already orders for 11,000 season tickets.
I saw earlier today it was reported to already be 6,000, but that was this afternoon, so I guess they're already at 11K,
Yeah. So
and
I mean that
that's good
like
at least.
it's good, but at the same time, it's also sounding like a lot of people are buying these season tickets, and then it's like if they want to, go to the game, they'll go, and if they don't, they just sell them. So when you've got, I mean, over like 90% of your arena potentially all being controlled by season ticket holders, like the price if you want to go to a game, you might not be able to, go online last minute and
Mhm.
get cheap tickets. Like you might have to be paying,
I
you might
wonder
have
if
to be
that's
overpaying to go to
yeah.
these games.
There's no way it's 90% season tickets. Surely that's like
Well, if I
that's
mean
how many people are
if it's
interested or something, or like in seriously inquiring about buying them.
it said that
I
there was
would
like
assume they
orders
would cap
placed or
it.
people like signed up for 'em and said they would get them. But
Mhm.
that's the thing. So this is what I can't remember the full details of it, but Buffalo did it earlier this year where it was like you need to have some kind of license or something um if you want to sell your season tickets to someone else. Like if you want to give them to someone else, that's fine. But if you're selling them, it was like you have to have a certain license to do that because Buffalo is having a pretty big problem with that, I guess.
And you know what? That's absolutely fair because you know what? It's obviously not on the same level, but it's not unlike buying a home and then renting it to people. You're buying something too expensive for the average person to buy full time, and then you're renting it out on a per use basis. Like
Yeah. And the thing is with season tickets is you can't put a
there should
cap
be
on
some
it
sort
though
of seller
because
thing.
it's if it's season tickets, it's people paying a bunch up front and whatnot, and then throughout the year, like you can't put a cap on it because you could potentially be losing so much money by doing that. So there's no cap. But then yeah, if you've got you know basically your entire arena except for maybe the nosebleeds is
How do other teams
you
do it?
know
Do other teams have a cap
I don't
on
think
season
so.
tickets?
I just don't think they've had the issue. I think maybe the issue was
Really?
with Buffalo was maybe they weren't, they had X amount of
I
season
just
ticket holders
I just
and they
always
weren't even
assumed they
reaching
capped
that
it at like
number.
40% of the arena can be season tickets, and past that it's buy your way in. But I
I don't know. I don't think
honestly,
they do.
honestly, I have absolutely no idea. That's not something I've researched enough.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, a lot of other teams at least are just like they're really quite expensive, so you just don't have them. And like I assume probably right now with Utah, maybe it's just not as expensive, or it's
Right.
people
Or
just
maybe
seeing
they,
it as an opportunity to just get them and then flip them to make money and never plan on going to a game.
yeah. And you know what?
Um,
Maybe they set the price too low, and then way too many people ask, and they go, "Oh, okay, we need to double our prices for season tickets because clearly
yeah, yeah,
we
it,
placed the bar pretty low." So maybe it's something like that.
yeah, yeah. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, as far as I know, at least I don't think they put a cap on it. So, but
Yeah. That's pretty much all the new info. That's the good rundown of the Coyote situation. Uh, if you're a Arizona Coyotes fan, our hearts absolutely go out to you guys. Um, this sucks. Like, there's not really any way to put it. The greed of one man, uh, has broken the hearts of like thousands of fans, uh, and very directly fucked with the lives of a lot of workers at the arena, the equipment managers, the players, all the concession stand workers, the flag girls at the games, like the ushers. So many people have been screwed over by this, and it's really tough to watch. And I hope the second that 5-year window hits, the NHL tells Morello to take a hike, and hopefully somebody who's going to properly care for an organization and a franchise comes in and brings hockey back, NHL hockey back to Arizona.
Yeah. More than anything, I just really hope that the Coyotes can come back and at the end of the day, just prove people wrong. Like I think it can be a very successful market. I think
It can be.
you need the right person running the ship, and they obviously it's very clear that they haven't. So I would like to see it done a second time over with
Yeah.
someone who actually knows what they're doing and someone who can actually get it to where it can be. Because we've listed out numerous examples of why it wasn't going to work with this ownership group. So hopefully the league will maybe step in and be like, if you want to come back, you know, you own the arena. I mean, you bought the land, you built it. Sure, you can sell it or like rent it out to this team, and you can still be part of you know, the new era of the Arizona Coyotes, but you're not the owner of the team.
Yeah, if you
Maybe
wanna,
there's something they
yeah,
can.
yeah, maybe try and entice them in with, 20% equity or ownership or something, and
Yeah,
then
you got like
have somebody
20%
else
ownership
be
of the
able to be
team,
the
and it's
the
your
shot
arena.
caller. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then he can be the guy offering 20 years to a guy, and he'll say yes, and then he
yeah,
gets to
he'll
have an NHL
without
team play in an
hesitation.
arena for 20 years.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, so I mean, all in due time. It's the clock's ticking now on 5 years to see what happens
Yeah, and
um, with
I
that.
definitely think hockey will go back there
I
soon.
think so.
I especially since how bad Gary Bettman wants it to be there. I think
Mhm.
if he wants to retire in 5 years, he's going to expedite the process and he's going to make it quick
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Is like if
cuz
you know
that's
Bettman's
his
maybe on his
legacy
way
on the
out,
league.
you gotta get back in there because a new commissioner might be like, hey, you know what? This ain't working. I'm not doing this. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens there. It'll be interesting to now instead of focusing on are the Coyotes going to relocate? If they do, when's it going to happen? To now, when might we see the Coyotes come back?
Yeah.
And hopefully, Utah has an actual name. I don't want none of this Utah Hockey Club or HC. Like none of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really hope it just works so much better if you got the branding, man. And
Yeah,
like it's not easy, but for people with billions of dollars, it's not that hard to come up with a cool name, a cool logo, stuff like that. Like
exactly right.
you should be able to put something good together.
Yeah,
Especially in this day and age with social media. Like how easy is it to go rip the coolest name off of the Twitter comments, right? Just because you
yeah,
commented on Twitter doesn't mean you're owed anything, right? You just put it out there.
yeah,
So
exactly.
like it literally could be that easy.
Um, but with all of that, I guess what do we want to do here for kind of a regular season wrap up? Like, how do we want to do this? Do we want to keep this short and brief to not overclutter this one, and then kind of
Um
come
yeah,
back to it over the
yeah, I could
playoffs, or
go
what do
over
we want to?
the the end of season scoring leaders, goalie stats and standings. Um are there any other big I know there were a couple other extensions and signings and stuff. Um do we want to go over some of the bigger ones? I know a
I,
couple
I
of
mean, I
them,
mean, really, all of them like is kind like it's kind of just rookies.
yeah, your
Um,
Cutter Gauthiers got signed to ELCs, stuff like that.
yeah, Frank Nazar, Lane Hudson, who obviously made his debut with
Yeah.
Montreal.
Logan Mailloux, also.
Was he signed? I'm pretty sure he was already under contract. I think he just made
Yeah,
his debut.
yeah, he just made his
Oh, you're
debut.
just talking about okay, yeah.
Yeah, he played. I was surprised he was playing the other day, but apparently he played. I believe it was 3 games in the preseason this year with them, with the
Yeah,
Canadians.
yeah, and then he spent, I'm pretty sure it was in the AHL
Yeah,
this year with the whatever their AHL team is. Another. What was the other one? Just thought I had another signing. Oh, and then Gavin Brindley signed with the Columbus Blue Jackets, who's looking to be a very
Good for Gavin.
promising player for them. Yeah, so I mean that's kind of the rookie signings. We saw some of them make their debuts. I know obviously Lane Hudson had a couple points or one really nice assist. Frank Nazar scored on his first ever shot in his first game with the Blackhawks.
What a unit.
So some of the bottom teams in the league are adding in some good young players. So
yeah, there's been a lot of really good young players. It seems like almost every young player is getting a point in their first game.
yeah.
Um,
It's kind of been the trend over the last couple games with all these guys making their debuts. A lot of them are scoring in their first games.
As for the scoring leaders, instead of just doing the top 3, I kind of want to do a couple more. What do you think should be the cutoff?
Top 7.
I was thinking more like numbers, like doing like every player with over 100 points, something like that.
Okay, yeah. Do every player with over 100,
which is 9, and then I'll pick a number for goals as well. But for the top scores this year, after all 82 games for every team, we have Nikita Kucherov, 144 points, absolutely insane. Nathan MacKinnon, he broke 140 after tonight's game against Edmonton. I believe he actually broke the single season franchise record for the Avs Nordiques. I believe it was Peter Forsberg at, I'm going to assume, 139.
Remember when so many people thought he was never gonna even hit 100? He kept getting close and
he
not
never
getting.
played 82 games.
And people
he never
like,
played
he's
82
just not
at that
meant
point.
for it. Yeah, but there's a lot of people that still thought that he was made at max like 100-point guy, and then he drops 140 this year.
I loved joking about it that he hadn't, but I always knew like as soon as he gets a healthy stretch, he's going to do it, and he's going to blow past 100.
Yeah, he was always capable of it. He just needed to have a full healthy season.
Yeah.
And what a season he had.
Yeah, actually. He's for a lot of people the Hart Trophy favorite. Connor McDavid with 132 points. Artemi Panarin 120 points. David Pastrnak 110 points. Austin Matthews with 107 points. Leon Draisaitl with 106 points. I love him getting 106, and everyone's talking about how disappointing he's been this year.
Yeah, right.
104 points for Mikko Rantanen, and JT Miller with 103. JT Miller. We traded that dude for a first rounder.
Hey, but that first rounder got flipped for Coleman, so you got 2 cups out of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, talk about a win-win. Holy.
So we'll kind of talk about these players a bit as we go through each category. I mean, yeah, like you said, everything sounds like McKinnon is still the Hart favorite, despite Kucherov winning there at Ross. So now because like the regular season is the only thing that matters for these awards, right?
Yeah.
So I think we're at now where it's either Kucherov or McKinnon.
I think it should be. Yeah.
As good of a season as Panarin, I think is he's not even going to be one of the 3 finalists, even though previous 5 seasons I think he would be a finalist.
He'd probably win in the majority of those seasons, other than McDavid's 150-point season. Like,
yeah,
Matthews, whoever comes in 6th this year would win at least 5 out of the last 10 Hart trophies. That's how insane the top players in the league have been this year. Like, it's nuts.
Yeah. Matthews, like, again, you can make the argument if he hits 70 goals, because I think that's just, again, when you've got,
it's about the round numbers. People like looking at that, and people will point
it's
to,
a milestone. It's a milestone thing as well.
People will point to the final game. Assists. Yeah, and people will talk about, Kucherov clutched up and was able to get number 100, and Matthews in the last 2 games just couldn't put one in the back of the net. And 69 goals in 81 games is absurd.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, and
But
that's
for so
it's not to take anything away
yeah,
from
yeah, and I
what
wish
Matthews
people would
did,
take
but
away less from him because 69 is insane. The only
his
narrative I'm
defensive
hearing right
numbers were
now is
great too.
the only thing I'm hearing is he didn't hit 70, which is too bad because
Hmm.
4 more than Ovechkin's best goal scoring year.
Yeah. Well, and so
And that
then
dude's chasing down Gretzky.
yeah, and so then the other thing with the Hart is people say, well, look, I mean, McDavid didn't have the most points, but he got 100 assists. So first of all, Kucherov also hit 100 assists,
So that's
and
kind of out the
Kucherov
window.
has joined the club with only Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux as the only three players in NHL history to have 40 goals and 100 assists in a single season.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if your whole argument for McDavid is the 100 assists thing, well, Kucherov blew that out of the water.
Yeah, he still did it with over 40 goals. And
So,
Kucherov, the only we listed earlier the 5 players to get 100 assists in a season,
yeah,
or Gretzky, Lemieux, and now McDavid and Kucherov. Kucherov's the only winger on that list.
yeah. But Orr's the only defenseman, so.
Or it's the only defenseman, which is even more insane, honestly. But
Yeah. So, I mean, like, personally, because my opinion is completely unbiased in this. I'm just going, like, I don't have a horse in this race.
right,
I don't think there's a wrong decision between McKinnon and Kucherov. I can see it either way. I personally think Kucherov should win it, but if McKinnon wins it, I'm like, you know what? I'm
it's
not
a one
surprised. I'm
it's
not
a 1A,
outraged. It
1B
makes
for you.
sense. Exactly.
Yeah,
But I
and
think it has to be one of those two.
yeah,
I think
I
it
yeah,
has to now.
I agree, and I think, in my biased opinion, it should be Kucherov. But there's way too many people online being like, McKinnon should win it, and you are insane for thinking otherwise.
Yeah.
Kucherov should win it, and it's not even close. Guys, it's so fucking close. That's why we're having the debate.
This
It's
is the closest
so
we've had in
close.
years. Like every last couple years, it's been okay. We know who's gonna win. It's
Yeah,
just who got the second most or who was fourth or something. Like with this one, it's like we just want to know who the third finalist is gonna be,
yeah,
and then it's gonna be who wins between Kucherov and McKinnon.
yeah.
I think that's what's kind of come down to.
Yeah, and it's such an going to be a very interesting dynamic. I cannot, regardless of the winner, I cannot wait to dissect the votes, uh, for which way they go, because they're every which way you look at it, they're sliced in a different way. So you got uh, Nikita Kucherov, Nathan McKinnon, and Connor McDavid. Let's say McDavid's the third guy. You got Kucherov and McDavid splitting the votes of the people who think 100 assists gets you the Hart. But there's also the people who love Canadians and they don't like the Russians. So that's splitting the votes between McKinnon and McDavid. But then you got the people who don't like that Kucherov. They say Kucherov is not as good defensively, or they bring up even at the All-Star game, if there's still people thinking about that, he might lose points there. Like there's so many ways you can dissect it, and that's not even talking about Matthews with his defensive play and his goal scoring. He could be in there. Like
Mhm.
they there's so many ways that guys are taking points away from each other
How crazy is
that
that? The fact
it's
that
wild.
McDavid in his 100 assist season or Matthews and his 69 goal season, one of those two won't even be a finalist for the Hart.
Yeah. That's what I was saying earlier. Whoever comes in fourth would win the Hart Trophy most years.
Do I know who my
And
dark
like
horse
and like
is?
handily. Kaprizov.
No,
Nah, Hellebuck.
no. My dark horse, and when I explain this, it'll make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Jason Dickinson of the Chicago Blackhawks.
I'm waiting.
So now that the season's done, right? The Chicago Blackhawks finished the season with a negative 110 goal differential.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Guess what the Blackhawks 5-on-5 goal differential was when Dickinson was not on the ice?
When he wasn't on the ice.
Yeah,
And they were, you said, minus
110 overall.
overall. So when he's not on the ice, let's go 180? Is that an insane guess? Is that a
Yeah.
little? Is that a lot?
Negative 94.
Negative 94. What
Now
line did he
guess,
play on? Do you know?
I think it was kind of like their first, second line center
Okay.
type thing. So when he was not on the ice, their goal differential was negative 94. Guess what their goal differential was when he was on the ice?
There's no way it's positive. They were so bad this year.
They were really
N-
bad.
Negative 30.
+9.
Good lord. How is that even possible?
So from negative 94 all the way up to +9,
The argu
that's 103 goal differential
if they
separating
weren't
those two.
second last in
Like,
the league, like that's not an argument.
dude, he's more valuable to the team this season than Bedard was.
Yeah.
Like, he only had 35 points. But the fact that he was actually a plus goal differential when he was on the ice versus not, like,
Yeah, that's crazy.
he was a +4. He
He's a
finished the season
+4.
as a plus. Also, shout out to Joey Anderson. He was a +5 through 54 games. Dickinson played 81. 81
81
games
games
on
with the
that shit
Blackhawks.
Blackhawks team. I mean, plus minus isn't like I don't look into that stat too much, but if you're a plus player on that team with a minus
Yeah.
110 goal
Plus
differential,
plus minus is good to look at when it's an extreme. If a player is plus 60, he's doing something right. If he's minus 60, there's something wrong. Like
yeah, like that's
if it's small numbers, it's whatever, but like when it's a trend, it means something.
um just for reference sake, like like you go to San Jose, who's kind of the closest team in the standings to Chicago. The best plus minus on that team that actually played a majority of the season is like minus 21.
Yeah. And that's what I
Like,
would expect the best player on a team that bad to be. Like
not
that makes sense.
Dude, Dickinson's a beast.
That's actually
People got to
crazy.
start putting some respect on his name. Obviously, I don't actually think he's going to be a finalist or anything for the Hart, but I wanted to give some recognition to him because that's
Mhm.
just absurd what he did.
I can keep going through some of the top scores here. I can go through the
Yeah.
goals on this one. This one's a couple more, but we'll go
Can
down
do like
to
45.
I was gonna do
Too
40. I was
much?
gonna do to 40,
40.
which
Okay, 40 works.
that's 17 guys, but scoring 40 goals is pretty sick.
Yeah.
Austin Matthews, of course, leading the way with 69 freaking goals. Insane.
Nice.
Sam Reinhart with 57 goals. Nothing to sneeze at there.
Wow.
Pending UFA Sam Reinhart.
Yeah.
54 goals for Zach Hyman. 51 for Nathan McKinnon. 49 for Artemi Panarin. This dude's known as a playmaker.
Yeah. Dude, yeah. It's like, again, it's just crazy. He's not going to be like, he's the guy that barely gets talked about when talking about the Hart, given the season he had.
You want to talk
crazy.
about guys who have never been talked about for awards? Philip Forsberg put up 48 goals this year.
Yeah. Dude, him and Yossi
on that
are
Nashville team.
That Nashville team.
If they were a little bit higher up, like
team.
Yossi would have a case to be in that Hart conversation.
He'll be
Probably
in the Norris
not.
conversation.
He should be.
He'll be in the Norris. He will be. He will be.
David Pastrnak, 47 goals. Kirill Kaprizov, 46. Braden Point with 46. Nikita Kucherov with 44. Mikko Rantanen with 42. Sid the Kid Crosby with 42. Jonathan Marchessault with 42, also a pending UFA.
Yeah.
Leon Draisaitl with 41. Steven Stamkos with 40. Pending UFA.
Pending UFA.
I wish I didn't start doing this. Brock Besser with 40 and William Nylander with 40.
Do you say Kucherov?
Yep, he was at 44.
Oh, she was up at 44. I'm pretty sure because I obviously wasn't listening very closely. But from what I heard, I'm pretty sure the only two players to hit 40-plus goals that aren't in the playoffs is Kaprizov and Crosby.
Yeah, that looks like it checks out.
So that's pretty impressive. Out of like basically all the 40-goal guys, all of them are in the playoffs except for only 2.
Pop quiz: who is the highest goal scorer in the league that isn't in the playoffs outside of those top 40?
What
There's
guy that got to?
there's
So
2
guys
guys
probably got
tied
to
at
like
37 goals.
30.
You could get one, you'll never get the other.
I'm totally blanking off the top of my head.
Brady Tkachuk, 37 goals.
Oh, you know what, Tkachuk? Yeah.
Fucking Frank Vetrano, 37
Yeah, dude,
goals.
he had a good year.
Yeah.
I think he kind of handcuffed the Ducks a bit. I think they could have gotten a haul for him at the deadline, but he didn't want to be moved. He wanted to stay there. I mean, he's a good player. Like,
he's only
great for them,
29, so they could keep him.
but it's like, man, what you could have, like, he's never gonna replicate this season. Like,
Yeah.
he's not gonna drop that again. And it's like, when you look at what you could have maybe gotten at the deadline for him, especially that he's on a cheap deal going into next year. I mean, again, like he's great for their team right now. He's great for all the young guys coming up. But it's like, man, when you're a rebuilding team that keeps bringing in all these top players into your lineup and you're not getting better, it's like, man, maybe adding some extra pieces could have been nice. But yeah. He had a great year though. He was a
look
lot
at
of
the
fun
names on goal. When you sort by goal scoring, look at the names Vetrano is ahead of: Kyle Connor, Carter Verhaeghe, Elias
Kyle
Pettersson,
Connor was injured.
Sebastian Aho.
I won't take any Kyle Connor slander.
What are you talking about? He played 65 games. That's a full season.
Dude, that's a Mark Stone season.
That's almost exactly
a
Mark Stone season. That's like right around how many games you'd miss after the deadline. How many games did Mark Stone play this year?
Dude, he can't play more than 50 the last couple years. Like he hasn't hit 50 in at least 3 years, I bet.
56 games this year.
56. Okay, so he just passed it. So yeah, so basically right before the deadline, he's like, all right, I'm gonna sit a couple out.
Yeah, and before that, his most games since 2020, 2021 was 55.
55.
And he had 37, 43. So yeah, you were pretty damn close being right about that. He doesn't play a lot of games like ever, even back with the Sens. He's never played 82.
Never will.
Well, no, at
What's the next stat we got?
It's the bit.
What do we got here? I got defenseman points. Do we want to do that?
Yeah. It's the end of the season. Let's do it.
All right, so I'm gonna do the top 10, which goes from the top with 92 down to 59, just because the bottom 2 guys I feel like should be mentioned.
Of course.
So number 1, Quinn Hughes, 92 points. Cale Makar, 90 points. Roman Josi, 85 points. Did lead all defensemen with goals with 23.
That's a lot of freaking goals from the blue line, man.
Yeah. Evan Bouchard, 82. Victor Hedman, 76. Adam Fox, 73. Noah Dobson hit 70. Josh Morrissey, 69. Mike Matheson, 62. And then Rasmus Dahlin with 59 points, but did have 20 goals.
Jeez.
I was only going to do up to Morrissey, but then I was like, you know what? I want to include Matheson because what a season he had. I'm like, well, Dahlin hit 20 goals, so gotta give credit to him. And then Morgan Riley, 58, and Zach Werenski, actually 57, coming back from that injury that kept him out for basically the entirety of the previous season. So a nice bounce back season for Werenski there.
Yeah.
The Norris, I mean, I think we know that the 3 finalists, like, I think it's pretty.
Yeah.
unless people just go crazy and think Bouchard's, the next Paul Coffey, like it should comfortably be Quinn Hughes, Makar, and Yossi, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. Hedman is a pretty solid number 4, but as much as I love him and he's been fantastic this year, I don't see which of those 3 you could put him over top of.
Yeah, and then I mean with that one, at least you can make an argument for any one of the 3. Personally, I still think Quinn Hughes, but
Yeah.
I can easily again, you could easily convince me and be like, yeah, it should be Makar, it should be Yossi. It's because all 3 have just a great case for why they should win the Norris.
Yeah, absolutely. They've all 3 been insanely good, and they're very close in most of their stats.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like they're all right in there, like all within 7 points of each other. Obviously, Roman Yossi's got the least, but he's got the edge with, the most goals. But then Quinn Hughes' defensive numbers are also really good. Like it's an interesting discussion. So I'm curious to see how that one ends up going and when the final vote, because the final votes always get released of like how close it was. I'm curious to see how close it is between those 3.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
it's 50 people vote.
Quinn
I wouldn't be
Hughes.
surprised if all 3 of them at least have 10 first place votes. But I agree, it should be Quinn Hughes.
Yeah. I just jumping back to you were talking about Zach Werenski. Him, I do think he is a top 10 defenseman in the NHL. I think
I need to see him do it again next season. I need to see him at least do it back to back, because a big part of it is, if you asked me, last year, like, is Carlson a top 10 defenseman like Erik Karlsson? I'd be like, well, yeah, he just dropped 10 points, but then he looked like he really took a step back this year. And I'm like, you know what? I think for guys, 2 years, if you can at least, like, Morrissey is up in that conversation now, because last year was like, he really took that next step and excelled. But it's like, hey, we've seen many guys, have a one-off year where just everything's going in. I want to be able to do consistently. And he just had another phenomenal season for Winnipeg, to the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't think he's top 10, but he's right up in that area where you can make an argument for him. So, and I think Werenski can easily do it next year.
I think
it's really the
I
health
would almost
thing
argue
for
that
him.
it's mostly the health, because
If you
arguably
can
for
stay
3
healthy.
years now he has 48 points in only 68 games is pretty solid for a defenseman. That's got to be close to 65 points over a full season. 8 points in only 13 games last year.
I kind of wiped that one, just because, I mean, like, he started off hot, but like,
he was
I don't
for
know
a
again
lot.
if he would maintain that
Yeah.
throughout the season. But like, again, if he does it
and
again,
then
if he does
57
this
and
again
70
next
this
year,
year.
I think he easily gets could easily make a case to be in the top 10.
Yeah. I just wanted to shout him out. I really like Werenski.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan of Werenski and what he's done for the Blue Jackets. Not only the last couple of years, but even this year, being a real bright spot for a team that, again,
Doesn't have a
one of
ton.
those teams that didn't have a lot going for him.
Yeah. Anyway, we can keep moving along here on the stats. We can move over to the goalies. We'll do the regular stats we normally do, but we'll also do the win leaders here. That's a bit more of a team stat, but we'll just name some of the top guys. Alexander Gorgiev with Colorado had 38 wins. Connor Hellebuck with Winnipeg had 37. And then Stuart Skinner in Edmonton, Igor Shesterkin in New York, and Sergei Bobrovsky with Florida all had 36 wins.
It's a solid list there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're all on very good teams, but you need goaltending to win the games.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you ever?
For goals saved above expected per 60 minutes, This is with a minimum of 44 games played, so we're pretty solidly only getting the starters in this list. Um, we got Connor Hellebuck with a .557, Demko with a .449, Swayman with a .430, Jordan Binnington actually with a .301, and
He
Jacob
had a good
Markstrom
year.
with a .290.
Yeah, those last two guys, Bennington, Markstrom, really had solid years, and two
Yeah,
guys that might be moved this off season. And if there was a time for them to be moved, there's no better time than now after the great seasons both of them just put up.
yeah. I wonder if Binnington's antics make any other teams nervous, because he really does seem like one of the easiest players in the league to get in their head. But
Yeah,
when
it's easy to
he's on,
rattle him. Yeah,
and it sounds like he's going to play for Canada in um
the World
what
Championship. Yeah,
the World Championship. Yeah, I was going to say I'm not quite sure which tournament's coming up, but
and I mean you can still make the argument Canada's best goalie that they've got. Like it's
yeah,
Canada's
very. It's not even
goaltending isn't
making the
isn't the
argument. It's a pretty
greatest.
solid case. We don't exactly have a ton right now.
Yeah. Also got the rookies pulled up here for points, so I'll quickly go
Uh,
through.
uh I'll just do you want me to just finish off the goalies? I just could do
Oh, did you have one
one.
more for the goalies?
I just have the one left. I'm going to do
Oh,
save
yeah, give her.
percentage.
Oh, yeah, give her.
So we got save percentage for for shots on goal, so just save percentage. For Connor Hellebuck, he's at a 921. That's pretty elite a few years ago. That's very elite now. The average
Yeah,
save
that's
percentage
very
is almost
good.
a flat 900 at this point. So, uh, 921 is insane. Um, Demko with a 918. Jeremy Swayman with a 916. Joey Decord with a 916. Cam Talbot with a 915. And Sergei Bobrovsky also with a 915.
Yeah,
That's,
there's a lot of goalies putting up good numbers this year, despite how high the scoring has been. The fact that
yeah.
goalies are putting up better numbers than they were the previous couple years, or the way that the numbers were kind of going, is really interesting to see that.
Yeah. There's not like, we're not that many years removed from the average save percentage being like 915. Uh, there were 6 goalies in the league this year with a 915 or higher.
Yeah,
Like that's it. Like it's becoming really hard to be a goalie, a consistent goalie in the NHL right now.
yeah. Which I think is part of the reason why we're kind of seeing maybe the tandems a little bit more. Like that's starting to kind of showing to be a proven method that works, rather than having just the one goalie that you. But I guess actually I don't know, because the guys at the top, some are those elite goalies that you ride out for most of the season. So I don't know. I'll
It's hard
shut.
to tell because it works so well, but at the same time, Connor Hellebuck, 60
Yeah,
games played, a 921. That said, we were also talking earlier about how Laurent Brossoit, every time he's in net, it's like he's putting up another shutout. Like he's
and
also been great. So
come playoffs, it's pretty much you got to ride a goalie.
yeah,
It's not very often a tandem works in the playoffs where you go back and forth between your goals. Come playoff time, you gotta. If you've been using a tandem all season, you gotta kind of pick one for the playoffs. So
yeah,
yeah, I'd rather take a Hellebuck over, I mean, no disrespect to him, but like an Allmark or a Swayman that's been in a tandem.
yeah. Vasilevsky, 52 games played this year. Dude was out till
He
like
did hit 52. Wow,
52.
that's
He
crazy.
played his first game like November like
End of
20th.
November. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was near the end. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, like that's
So Tampa rode him hard down the stretch. Then
dude, I didn't
would
even
have
know
had to have.
I until Tompkins played against Toronto, I didn't even know we still had backup goalies on the roster. I thought after his back surgery they were gonna let him take it easy. No, we needed him every time.
They threw him right in. Yeah. Looking over at the rookie scoring leaders.
Yeah.
So obviously at the top, no surprise, Connor Bedard, 61 points. Brock Faber and Luke Hughes, 2 defensemen, both at 47. Logan Cooley, 44. Marco Rossi at 40 points. Luke Evangelista, 39. Matthew Nyes, 35. Connor Zary, 34. Dmitry Voronikov, who stuck around with the Blue Jackets, 34. Tyson Forrester, 33. Zach Benson at 30. And then Leo Carlson at 29. Pavel Mintyukov, 28. Adam Fantilli at 27. Although Fantilli did only play 49 games. And Leo Carlson played 55.
Yeah, Fantilli had that lacerated something
Leg?
in his
I think it
leg.
was? Yeah.
I don't know what part of his leg, but yeah, he had some sort of leg injury since early February, I believe.
And then only 4 rookies this year hit 20 goals or more. Bedard had 22. Marco Rossi had 21. Logan Cooley at 20. And then Tyson Forrester at 20 as well.
Yeah, that's pretty good company, you know, being in your rookie year going right beside Bedard. I assume these guys are a lot older than Bedard relatively, but you know,
Yeah.
still, it's a short list.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm obviously with the Calder, it's going to Bedard. Like it just,
Yeah,
it is as good as a Faber is.
Brock Faber's been very
had.
good for them, but
Faber, I think, should come second. Like it's basically who's going to come in second, because we know the Bedards.
I don't even think there's a competition for second. I think it's got to be Faber.
I would think so. I would think so. I mean,
Rossi.
People love Luke Hughes. I don't think Hughes should be second. Like I think Faber should comfortably be in second.
You know what? Yeah, I could see Luke Hughes getting up there. I definitely think Faber
people
should come
complaining
second.
about it, but I personally think it should be Faber. Yeah.
Yeah. They always need a guy to come third.
There's always got to be a third wheel. There's always got to be one.
Yeah. I've got the odds, like the percentages on Money Puck here, for people to win the cup. So I just wanted to get your gut reaction. Who do you think has the best chance to win the cup?
Dallas Stars.
And that's what I would have said. So we've got the Canucks are a 9.2% to win the cup. The Hurricanes are a 9.6. The Stars are a 9.9. The Rangers are a 15.
Well, I mean, yeah, the Rangers were kind of the other one because like they are the President's Trophy winning team.
Yeah.
I didn't go Rangers because like I'm like they always find a way to choke every year, so I'm not.
I was just surprised to see like the Panthers are at 9, and then there's 9, 9.2, 9.6, 9.9, and then 15%.
Yeah,
that's quite a bit higher than anybody else.
Especially because the East is going to be a dog fight to get through.
Yeah,
like it doesn't like there's
both
no.
Sides,
I mean,
man,
in both sides, there's no easy. Like there's no push. I mean, Washington, I guess.
Yeah, Washington's the only one. But Washington's the only one on here that doesn't even have a percentage to win the cup because their slice of the pie is so small.
But you know, man, that team finds a way to win. You know, their goal differential was awful, like minus 37. That's the worst for a team to make the playoffs since 1991. But you know what? This Capitals team, it doesn't matter. They win those tight, gritty games, and if they lose, they get blown out. So it's like if they're in a dogfight with the Rangers, the Caps might find some ways to come out ahead.
Yeah. So the Rangers have a 15% chance to win the cup. The Capitals have a 10.2% chance to make the second round.
Wow.
They are not high on the Caps.
They're not high on the. I mean, and rightfully so.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I just don't want to see
the Rangers, and the Caps have a
blowout. Like I want to see the Caps at least put up a fight.
I'd like to see Lindgren get a shutout or two, steal a game.
Well, I'm the biggest Charlie Lindgren fan there is right now. He's been so good this year.
He's been great.
And maybe that's what the Capitals need. Maybe they need him to outplay Shesterkin and steal a game or two.
You know what I think the Caps need to do? I think they should be trying to shop Darcy Kemper to the Devils or one of these teams that needs a goalie.
Yeah, they might have to look to maybe start. Yeah, I mean, if Lindgren's a guy, maybe you start looking at if there's a big market for a guy like Kemper.
Kemper has
Also,
a great track record. He hasn't been good this year. He's got a long track record of being very good. So I
yeah,
definitely think teams will take a chance on him.
it's also interesting that out of the four teams that came down to that nail biter battle for that last wildcard spot, the Capitals, Red Wings, Penguins, and Flyers. Three of those teams, being the Caps, Penguins, and Flyers, were all sellers at the deadline as well.
Yeah. Well, so
And
was Nashville, who comfortably had wild card one.
well,
Like,
Nashville's no, they were a buyer at the deadline
I guess at the deadline, I'm
because they
thinking. I
yeah,
just
the
keep
off
thinking back to the
season.
off season where they sold so
Yeah,
much. Can't believe they're
yeah,
in.
the deadline they were buys because they re-signed Novak, which kind of showed they were going. Then they brought in Beauvillier and Jason Zucker. Um, but yeah, I mean that's really impressive for the Caps. So the fact they were sellers at the deadline could add some pieces for their retool and still make the playoffs, like that's pretty impressive. Like, are they making out of the first round? No, but I think they can put up a better fight than people are giving them credit for right now because not a lot of people are thinking they even win a
I
game.
yeah, I'm not very
They
confident
win
in
at
them.
least one. They're gonna make it hell for the Rangers to win games. I think. Like Rangers are still gonna
I don't
win,
think
but
they're
it's
going to be
not gonna be
they're
easy
not
at
going to be a
all for them.
fun team. They're not going to be a fun team to play, but I think 5 is the most games I'd give them.
Do you think Wilson takes anyone out?
I would love to see him hit Truba like a train. I want to see both of them flying as fast as they can towards each other, and I want to see them hit each other and neither of them touch the ground for 3 seconds.
Jeez.
Like, I want to see some
That would be pretty
absolute
cool to see.
behemoths collide. Like, that would be so good. A big
That's gonna
open
be a
ice hit,
very
those two guys.
like even though people think Rangers are gonna steamroll, like it's gonna be a rough series. It's gonna be a war between those two sides. It's gonna
Yeah.
be very entertaining games.
Yeah. I think it's basically, I think just slightly less of them of what I thought it would be if the Philadelphia Flyers got in. The Flyers would suck to play against in the playoffs. I think most teams would beat them in
Yeah,
the first round and move on, but I think the Flyers would really take a pound of flesh. So I
yeah,
don't know if the Caps have that quite that much dog in them, but they got a couple guys that are real bastards on the ice to play against. So we'll see.
yeah.
But we will
Um,
get into the playoffs in our next episode,
yeah.
which will
So
be
I think
very soon.
we'll kind of wrap this one up here. Obviously, we'll be coming back at you guys tomorrow with a preview of the playoffs. I don't think we're going to decide how we're going to do it. I think we're at least going to go through all the round one matchups and do our predictions for those. I don't know if we're going to do a whole, each come to class prepared with our own bracket for how we think the whole thing's going to go. But at the very least, we will, give time and focus in on each series and give our predictions on how we think those are going to go.
Yeah, we'll go over each of the what is it, the 8 or different the 8 matchups, and we'll
Yeah.
break them down. We'll give predictions for the single round. We won't, as we once all those games are done, all the every game sevens are done, then we'll talk about the next round. But yeah, I
Mhm.
don't think we need to wildly guess at how things go from there.
Yeah.
Because like all
Yeah.
it
And then
takes is one key injury, and we go, oh, okay, never mind. I wouldn't have Carolina
one,
going to the finals.
and
Like,
obviously it's something that I'm going to bring up the next episode because there's a couple guys I think it could happen to. But it always seems like on some of those top contending teams, there's a player that just goes completely cold and
yep,
just can't buy a point come playoff time. And I think if that happens to some of these teams, it could very well affect them. So
we all
we'll
know it's
focus
gonna
on
be.
that.
We all know it's gonna be Nichushkin. Come on, you can
Yeah.
say his name.
He's not getting kicked out of the playoffs this year, hopefully, though. But yeah, and then you know, maybe
I don't hate Nichushkin. I just picked a guy.
and then maybe throughout the playoffs, we'll kind of come back and look a little bit back at the regular season and
Yeah.
maybe talk about some of the teams that aren't in the playoffs, because I don't think we want to go, you know, the whole span of the playoffs without kind of talking about some of the teams that aren't in the playoffs. You know, we still want to give attention to all teams, even if you aren't in the playoffs, because you'll have at least the draft lottery to look forward to, and then the eventual draft that
There's always next season. There's always the off season. It's like that time in the off season where nothing's happening sucks, but like there's a lot of exciting times in the off season for what other stuff is going on.
Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps up everything we got for this one, though, right?
Yeah, that's everything I got.
Right on. Well, thank you to everybody once again for listening to yet another episode of the Sick 'em Up podcast. We're at the end of the regular season. We are now in crunch time here with the playoffs. We will be coming at you guys with as much playoff content and hockey talk as we possibly can as we cover it all the way through. As always, you are more than welcome, and we encourage you to follow us on all of our socials. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SEU Hockey. Come throw us a follow. Come say hi. Maybe give us your playoff predictions. Maybe some things you want us to talk about with the playoffs, or maybe your team didn't make the playoffs. Welcome to my world. It sucks, but
oof.
If you got something with your team that maybe you want us to talk about while you're not in the playoffs, let us know, and we can easily make that work for you.
Yeah, we can talk about the Flames. We can talk about whoever.
Huge Dustin Wolf shutout tonight, man. I was calling it from the stands. I was screaming it. Boy, did he deliver. That was great. Great times were had by all. And by all, I mean everybody else still enjoyed the game. It was tough for me. But I think that covers everything for us here, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you to everybody for listening, and we will see you guys in the playoffs.